Hello and welcome to 4000. I am Nicky Watt, joined by Mark, and we are joined by the six-time champ, Mr. Ross Murray, head coach Martin Grubb from the Solway Sharks on the back of their double winning success at the weekend. Not only did they pick up the cup, they also secured their league title as we expected. Boys, first of all, welcome to the show. Second, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thanks very much, boys. Thank you very much.
You've been a bit show busy today on the telly up there.
No, just got to do what we've got to do, ain't we?
I love it. So yeah, what happened? Talk me through it. 5-1 up, 5-5. All kind of went. It was going off. The Twitter. I was following it on Twitter, and then it was like, oh, they're pumping them. They're pumping them. Like they're running away with it. And then I stopped checking in, and then I checked back. It was 5 each. What happened?
It sounds a bit like my team. They stopped. They checked out. Oh no! You got to give. To be fair, you got to give them credit. 5-1. We scored. I think we scored 3 or 4 power play goals, and we were cruising. We were cruising, but a couple of dodgy decisions by us. They get themselves back into it. Last period, we struggled just to get going. We had chances. We struggled a wee bit. They kept coming. I think that whole Friday night thing was maybe a wee bit different for us. But you got to be fair. You got to give them credit that they just came and kept knocking on the door, and we struggled to get ourselves going again. But if I'm honest, we spoke about it after the game, and Ross will tell you that we never ever felt anybody apart from us was going to win it after that. And albeit it went all the way to a shootout, we knew we had the character, and we knew we had the boys in our room, and we knew we had enough of that winning mentality. And obviously, the rest is history, at least that we've managed to get over the line. But the 2 games, 2 barn burners, two full crowds, the way hockey at these levels should be. Passionate fans, passionate players, physicality, decent goaltending, some decent goals. So it actually was a good advert for hockey in the north, to be honest.
And they had it on the radio and all sorts of stuff. Ross, what did you say to the troops after the game Friday?
Just basically, it was just the experienced guys knew kind of what to do, but it was just kind of reminding the young guys, like, look, it's one game. If it was in the league, we'd be going in there 100%, be confident. So why should it change just because it's a second leg or final? Like we were sure we were going to go in there. We were confident, and like you say, I went to a penalty shootout, but we had that experience, to get over the line, and we all knew that. So
who took the penalty shots for you boys? Who came up big?
Well, Boydie, to be fair, like as soon as we got to shootout, I just, like most coaches, who wants one?
Yeah.
And I'm going to give Boydie massive credit. Looked me straight in the eye and said, I'll score first. Didn't even say I'll take first, I'll score first. So you have to go with that.
Yeah.
Gappa as our import took second and missed. Johnny McBean undressed the goalie, to be fair. He undressed him and the goalie got a stick on it, or a stick on his leg, and he couldn't finish that. And then big Richard Bentham, the big wily veteran, just said that I won't miss. So then he went at 2 mile an hour and put everything he's got behind that shot through the 5-hole. But what you'll like, boys, is, and if you get a chance to see this, so he takes his helmet and gloves off and thinks he's won the cup.
Oh no, he didn't.
They've still got a shot to go.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
and he starts celebrating, and the bench is wetting herself, just like wondering, what are you doing? So
that could have went real bad if you boys didn't fucking win that.
Thankfully, Big Cal saved everyone, and obviously the rest is done now. But it could have been a complete disaster.
Wow!
There'll be a fair bit of ribbon for the big man for
ever.
Probably, I'm sure Russell and the boys will have him for probably forever. But, he's not very bright. He scored the winning goal. We know he's not very bright, the big guy. So we'll give him it.
What's it been like, the atmosphere in the camp this season? Because obviously, as it is with Streatham down south, you boys are expected to win these trophies. You're expected to win the league. If you lose, it's like, why have you lost? There's questions to be asked if you lose a game even. Like, there's a lot of expectation to go on. So what's the feeling been like for you boys throughout the season?
Well, Ross answer that one.
Go on, Ross, you can jump in on that.
It's pretty good, you know. It's weird. It's weird. We've got a winning way in Solway, so it's just kind of everybody buys in and nobody kind of pulls the other direction. So it's quite a close team, and yeah, like we've got our goals and everybody knows what we need to do to achieve that kind of thing. So if that's killing penalties or scoring goals, everybody kind of knows their job and we all buy into it. And I think that's why we're so successful, because everybody just wants to win. It doesn't matter how we do it, as long as we do win.
What about from a coach's perspective there, Grubby?
Yeah, I mean, like it goes back now to that, I suppose, that modern way of you're recruiting the right people first, and you've got a good dressing room, and I still think you have to keep a part of an old school mentality, because if you think back to when you played, and even before that when I played, teams were teams, right? It was fun. You worked hard, you played harder, you drunk probably harder than that. And if there was no camaraderie and no team concept, I still believe that you can't be successful if you're not all together. And over the last 10 years, probably, we've continued to build that and bring in the right pieces and use the system properly, where you can bring in a couple of young guys who are on two ways, but they've then got to buy in and understand that these older veterans, your Benthams, your obviously Ross Murray here, Struan Toners, like they have to buy into what these guys want, and they do. And then you've got a couple of real beauties, guys like Callum Boyd. I mean, he is a beaut, an absolute beaut, and I guess a glue guy.
Yeah.
So we've built that where we've got a bit of everything, and they find a way most weeks when we ask them to dig deep, they dig deep, like the character showed on Saturday night, and then on the bus home they deserve to celebrate the way they did. So they're a good bunch. They are a good bunch. Some nights, I guess, like any coach, you want to kill them, but as I say, 30 seconds to go on Saturday night, everybody thought they were dead and buried, but anybody in our bench, and including myself, knew that there was no way we were done yet.
Still time.
That's when they prove, yourself. It does. I say it all the time to them. If it takes the 59 to get what you need. And going back to, like you said, about the whole us and Streatham thing, I think that's helped, because I know the boys down there, rightly so, they want another pop at us, and we want to play them because it's the two best teams. And that probably this year's also proved a bit of a motivation for us, that we know that they've been going great guns and we've been going great guns, and now everybody's going to get the chance to hopefully have two fully fit teams with the best players on the ice, and we'll get it on again.
Yeah, it will be better, obviously. Sorry, Mark, was you going to say something?
Yeah, no, carry on.
I was just going to say it'd be better, obviously, if my brother's on the ice, if Vanny's on the ice, all your boys are on the ice. I think we kind of got robbed a little bit of a real showcase last year, because it was all the what ifs, ands and buts. Hopefully this year, Vanny doesn't kick anyone and Ryan's not fucking sussied, and they'll be on the ice, and we'll get a fantastic game, because you boys, to be fair, I thought you dominated that game.
I think we maybe surprised some people. I think some people in the lead up to it gave us no chance. I mean, to be fair to them, Family had a great team going there last year, and everybody thought it was a kind of foregone conclusion. So it gave us a wee bit of motivation. Then you add between Ryan and Vanny, that's a massive piece of their puzzle that's not on the ice. So we obviously came and done what we were going to do. But you're right, we want, as they do, we want Vanny to be playing, we want Ryan to be playing, and the best team will win. And
absolutely,
obviously we hope it's us and they hope it's them. But the punters, that's exactly what it should be. The punters want the best players, and they should get the best players. And
it's a showcase event for the North and the South in front of the national fans as well. It's if you get it right, it could be a real window for season. Yeah, of course. Yeah, so it's a real opportunity for both clubs. And it's funny you touched on like the camaraderie side and having pints and having fun. So Stratton seemed to, from talking to my brother, those boys, they hang out, and even though no one really lives in London, but they make an exception, and they go out and they hang out as a team. Obviously, it's very easy to have good camaraderie when you're winning that. Like when you boys are winning, it goes hand in hand. You've got that good foundation. You have a young man by the name of Jonathan Bean playing for you this year. He's looking good. He looked good for GB20s. He obviously then pulled off the Michigan. Ross, let me ask you, roll it back. If someone scores that Michigan goal against you, what are you doing?
Two-handed them.
I'm off the bench, mate. Yeah, I'm sorry. Great skills, but I'm a dinosaur.
This next shift, I'm taking his wrist right off.
I thought you might. I thought you might
Actually,
say that. It was wicked
almost,
goal.
almost did it to Johnny after he did that.
What about you, Grubby? You got Michigan in the locker?
Well, I've not got the only Michigan I've got is the time I was in Detroit. Like, there's no chance. No, and it's funny he says that. I said the same thing. I kind of stood there thinking, anybody done that to us, I'd probably want to empty the whole bench. Like, that's not. And the kid's sick, right? You've seen it, as you say, you've seen it yourself, and his hands are unbelievable, and it's been coming. It's probably been coming in our league because sometimes some games, no disrespect to anybody, but some games he does what he wants.
Yeah.
But you're looking, I guess, the looking back on it, the good bit is it's a game winner. If you're going to get a Michigan and it's a game winner, then
if it's 8-1 and it's 8th goal, then yeah, if the bench is empty, I wouldn't have been surprised.
If you've got the balls to go and do that at a 0-0 game, then fair play to Johnny. Again, another beaut he's not the brightest, but the boy can play hockey, so I've got to give him that.
So you boys actually found out that you win the league title on the same night that you win the cup. Obviously, the results went the right way. Is that right?
Yeah. Whitley got beat by Blackburn, I think, in Whitley.
And that was enough for you boys to get over the line?
Aye, pretty much, aye. Spud actually came in and said after the second, basically, that's us won the league now, so let's not blow this cup game, so let's make sure we do the double, and it kind of just motivated everybody on to get the finger out, I guess.
Yeah, I'll do it.
It's a weird one though, because you know yourself, you want to win it on the ice, right? We needed a point.
Yeah.
And we were coming home on the 3-3 on the Sunday, and you're kind of thinking, right, let's get the cup first, and then let's go home and get the point and really make a proper night of it. But yeah, like I toyed with myself saying, did I tell them at the end of the second? And obviously we're in a tight game. I was like, right, listen, let's get our finger out. Do you want to be the league winners by kind of default tonight and lose the cup? And then, yeah, get them their due. They dug deep, they done their job, and 2 trophies one day.
Mark, what was you going to say, bud?
Am I right in saying you're unbeaten this season, 21 games in total? When was the last time you lost at home?
I don't know, actually. We're unbeaten at home. We've lost an overtime game in Billingham and a regulation game in Whitley this year. But at home, I don't know if we lost last year at home either.
It would been before COVID.
So it might be since the restart. Since the restart, we probably are unbeaten at home.
That's impressive. What's the major connection with Dundee and GB and the fact that the women go up there, the kids go up there for England-Scotland games? It just seems to be I don't know. It seems to be a really good place for hockey, whether it be the national setup or you guys are doing there. I saw you under 16s could potentially win the league at the weekend. Why has Dumfries become this little hockey hotbed all of a sudden the last few years?
Well, Ross can go. That 16s team is his team. He's got to take the credit for
that. I don't know. I think it's just because being successful and the work. I'm trying to get on the power play here, but the work Spud's been doing, so he's just created something what everybody wants to be a part of, and I don't really know, but it's just like a magnet for everybody to come and watch now and be a part of. Everybody wants to be a Shark pretty much in Dumfries, so that's it really. Sorry, go on, Gorby.
I think, to be fair, right, he's playing it down a wee bit here because the likes of himself and Struan as our captain and these veteran guys, they're on the ice now, right? So when the kids, and we've all been there, when you start playing hockey, if you could see the local senior team, whether it be an import, whether it be a Brit, you want to be that guy. You want to be Ross Murray. You want to be Struan Toner. You want to be Peter Gappa as our import does it. Richard Bentham again does it. If when these guys come on the ice and they build that whole community, and the young kids for the 5, 6, 7 years old are stepping on ice with these guys, that started something for us, and it's allowed us as a group to be better. It's allowed the rink then to be better. I guess we're in a good position where it's a council building, the council support it. It's a family business for me because the wife's the manager of the rink, so
okay.
She obviously, her and her team make sure that the rink push all sports. It's not just an ice hockey thing. Thankfully, we get that support in terms of the junior program, the Learn to Play program, the recreational, or actually our women this year can win the Women's League. It's just been a good thing. And then bringing the World Championships to Ice Hockey UK, male and female, has grown the game. So all our jobs, but the players, these players have bought in and tried to build and grow something. So it's a good space to be in right now. Long may it continue, and for this game that we all love, if that can continue to grow and bring kids in, like that's, for me, that's what it's all about.
In terms of support, then, how many fans do you average in a game? Is it a well-followed sport up in Dumfries?
If you'd asked me this maybe 2 years ago, I would have said it was very average. But the last season, and then certainly this season, it's been growing and growing. Somewhere between maybe 500 and 600, which for this building is a good number.
Yeah.
The seats are full most weeks. There's a lot of standing room taken up. We've got a little group that formed called the Sharky Army, who come with their drums now and make some noise. And
good.
It's because probably maybe when Russ first broke into the senior team, it could be a bit of a library. It could be really quiet, and that was our complaint. But he'll be able to tell you on the ice now. It's got a nice atmosphere going.
Definitely, like I said, it's growing. You can actually hear the fans. Like when I first started, it was quieter. They say not that many people here and that, but like it's noisy now, and that's what you want to play in front of, right? You don't want to play in front of empty seats.
No, of course not. What other sports are you competing with up the road? You got like footy or anything in town, or are you guys kind of one of the biggest clubs there?
Football's right next door to us, actually.
Okay. What division are those boys playing in?
Oh, what are they now, Spud? First division?
They're in League One now. They got relegated last year for the championship.
Okay, so does that help that they're playing at a lower standard? Maybe like a couple of fans might go, do you know what? This Saturday I'm going to come and watch Solway.
Possibly. I think I think football nowadays, no matter what level, it's expensive.
It's extortionate,
we've managed to keep our prices at a relatively decent rate. I mean, it's a tenner to get in here as an adult.
That's very good.
It's the cheapest bar in town. I mean, we have our own bar here, and it's the cheapest bar. And there's promotions there, and there's cocktails.
Come on, make me six, bud. How much is a pint?
I actually don't know how much a pint is, but I know there's like £1 and £2 cocktails going every week. And it's jugs for £4.50, and it's I know that
up to the game,
boys, 100%. You need to get yourself up. We'll look after you. Get on the buck fast, and you'll be all right.
Bottle of bucket.
No, I mean, as I know the old, even a lot of the old fans that came way back when it was Dumfries Vikings and stuff. There's the boys that still come. It's the first thing they say. Cheapest bar in town, and obviously being able to sit in the stands and drink a beer is always a decent thing when watching hockey. So that part certainly helps us.
Anyone that I know it's been up there, whether it be for even like a kids tournament or a camp or whatever, everyone's been really impressed with the facility, with like how well you guys are looked after there. How important is it like we do get like we don't lose all the council run rinks, because there's a few down south that were council and now no longer are, and you just watch them dilapidate and fall apart.
Yeah, I think we're lucky. I think we are definitely lucky that obviously when I first came here way back in the day, it was a bowling alley on one side and it was an ice rink on the other, and now it's a dedicated curling pad on one side. So,
cool.
As we all know, the especially in Scotland, it was 10:30, 11 o'clock at night because curling was on, and there was 6:30 in the morning because you could get no night ice time. But now ourselves and our skaters, like figure skating club, who actually just went to World Championships and a totally different thing, but they've benefited massively. Ice hockey's benefited massively. The curlers are benefiting massively because we're a nice facility now, focused purely on ice sports. So the council, they deserve credit for looking after the building. The sports subsidise themselves, but the building itself, we all know what it's like. Nobody likes going into an absolute shithole. No. You want to go in somewhere where the dressing rooms are nice, the ice pad is good, the ice surface is good. And sometimes we laugh about it. Ross and I will speak about the standards that should be in the league, and we know that they're not always there. But we sometimes look after even the away teams too well. But it's just what we try and do so that we can at least say that we're doing the right things, and it keeps people coming back and keeps the reputation high.
Absolutely. The talk of the season post Christmas has been, will the National go 12 teams, and if they will Solway be considered? Now, I spoke to Ross a little bit off air. Asked you the same question now that we're back on air. If that was to be the case, would you boys want your name to be top of that list and be taking that 12th spot?
For a player's point of view, Ross?
Yeah, like definitely. Like I said before, we went live. Like, it's just the progression. Like, we've been kind of dominating up here for years. I think it's 10 years, 5 league titles, along with multiple North Cups and playoff trophies and a national title. So, like, on our performance, we deserve it, but it's whether they kind of want to have that talk. But I think all the players here would love to step up and try to compete against some of the best players in the country.
What about from your perspective, Grubby?
If you want the truth, I don't think we'll be asked. We're too far away. People don't want to travel. It's the controversial side that everybody's talking about. I don't think there's an appetite. I think we're spoken about, and rightly so. And as a club, we've had little discussions on the most important thing, like any hockey club. It's got to be long-term, financially viable. And I think it could be. Yeah, I really think it could be. I think we've got a core group here that would make a decent roster. Naturally, you would lose some guys along the way due to other commitments or age and what have you. But I think we've definitely got the bones of a good team that can go in there and compete. Because the last thing I'd want to do personally is go in there and kind of become a disaster and be that bottom of the team, bottom of the league team. But I honestly don't believe they will ask us, purely because it's a nice, cosy little league there right now. It's a good league, and I'd love to be part of it. But and I hope I'm wrong, but I'm not sure we get asked purely for that finance show.
I hope you're wrong.
And distance. Yeah. I hope I'm wrong. I definitely do. I think we could add something to that league. But I think when you look at Basingstoke, the Bees, Bristol, Swindon to Dumfries, unless, and I've heard you boys say it before, and I totally agree, the conference side, working the fixtures where they're in Dumfries on a Saturday and somewhere else halfway down the country on a Sunday, or is it where you do what Belfast do and you play 2 games a Saturday night and a Sunday? And there's definitely workable ways to do it, and we're the same. We'll do double headers if we need to. We do it in this league, but
there's plenty of smart men that run this show that you stick them all in a room. I'm sure they would be able to attract sponsors if they really worked hard enough, hotel sponsors. There's all sorts of clever guys there that could pull some strings. I'm absolutely positive of it. Even if you then had to go 6 and 6, where you go north and south, I don't know who gets put in north, and obviously whether it be Telford, Peterborough, I don't know logistically who it would be. Obviously you would have Hull, Leeds and Sheffield yourselves. There would have to be obviously 2 more northern teams who it would be. And then maybe you do only 2 cross-conference games and 3 in your own, or 4 in your own, however you need to do the maths to make it work. But I think there's an appetite. That's there you go, Lisa Calvert. That's the problem. You need a woman organising it. Hey, she might be right. she might be right. She might not be wrong there. But it would be good to see you guys get in and get your chance, because we've been here before. The league was a little bit different then, but after the demise of the EPL, there was a little taste, wasn't there? Like a couple of seasons, and I think you boys beat everybody you played against, right? Over the course.
Yeah, I think we're the only team that managed to beat everybody and kind of split some of these series with teams. So I think you're right though. It's, if you think of travel, it's simple. Travel, right? Let's get a hotel chain that says every team is going to use your hotel chain. Every fan's going to use this code and book online, and there's money to be saved and made that way. There's travel companies that's taking teams up and down the country. There's hockey brains everywhere that could get in a room and make these things work. Is the appetite there for everybody? Who knows? I guess we'll find out. I hope it is. And I think it could, I actually genuinely think it might lead to something bigger. Every year we hear, when we all hear it in this hockey world, of what did Fife do? What did Dundee do?
Yeah.
I think there's a potential to conference it into a bit more of an old school, maybe not the 8 imports to the BNL, but I think it's got the bones of a BNL there somewhere down the line.
It's
for our young players,
something I've thought about, Grubby. That's something I've thought about for sure.
I mean, there's how many we all watch young players play hockey now, and the skill they've got, and some of these young players are unbelievable now, but they need a chance to play at a level where they can showcase their talent. So if we can get something going where they come through junior hockey and say, I want to play in that National League, I can play in that National League because there is teams nationally for Scotland to England to Wales, whatever. That's our sports job, but surely we can get enough people in the room that can make it happen.
So let me ask you a question from a development side of things, because it is, i.e., supposed to be a development league. We're supposed to be developing players through National 2 to National 1, and then from National 1 to National League. Clubs not the same, no. Like if you start and you're dominating a league, that surely you're then good enough to develop and go on to the next league. We should be looking at it that way as well.
100%. Promotion relegation should be in there. I think you look at the countries like the Germans, they've got it going. They've all got it going at every level of sport, not just ice hockey. It's if you can earn your way up, you earn your way up. And there might be the odd season that teams have to say, listen, financially, we've surprised and surpassed ourselves, so you can't do it. But surely we're a big enough country and we're enough people that could make these kind of things happen. The Elite League's the Elite League, and it's an entertainment league for me now, and there's some hell of good hockey players in there as well. But yeah, I guess that's a financial-based league. But if there's a development pyramid that's going for bottom all the way up to the top, then you've got to give players and clubs a chance to develop up that pathway. So that would be my viewpoint, and I don't know what Ross thinks from a kind of player's point of view within the clubs, but that would be my view.
Nah, like same as Spud, there's no real development in the North. I feel like there's, if you're a player who doesn't want to give up their job to move down south, wants to or has a young family, you just kind of got to play the level that's near about you. So how are you going to get the best out of UK players in the North if there's nothing to really play? You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
you're only developing half your country in my eyes. So you're only getting half of players who could potentially make your GB squad. You potentially make your senior GB squad down the line. So
yeah,
you're already the sports already. It's no struggling, but it's got to eventually keep struggling if you're only developing half your country.
It's an interesting take, because if you look at it, obviously you've got Hull, Leeds, and Sheffield in the National as it stands. They're the real northern teams in that league. But again, talking off air, if you live in like Whitley Bay, Bellingham, or something like that, you'd have to then travel to those places. How far's that? Good couple of hours travel. If you do have a young kid, or you're self-employed, you got a business, or you got a boss who's like, you can fuck off. You're not taking this night off to go travel down to training. You can't start late. Like all the little things that do matter. Whereas I think if we can get a couple of teams in that league, like you say, make it a little bit more national. So whether it is the Flyers and the Stars eventually, I mean, I'm sure their fans won't be very happy with me saying that, but losing's not that much fun.
No,
it's not that much fun. Playing in front of empty buildings or 800 fans in the Elite League, probably not that much fun either. So there might be a stage where they look at it. I don't imagine the Elite League would want to lose them. They would probably do very well to keep a hold of them, don't you think?
I mean, I don't think they're going to want to lose anybody. And I guess, like you say, once they've been in that Elite League, the fans probably don't want to drop down from what looks like it's going to be 15 imports now to what potentially is going to be 3 imports. But I grew up in Fife. I've watched Fife Flyers for 18 months old, and I could still rattle off these imports and these British guys, and I still maintain people would go back to see another John and Bobby Haig, to see another Davy Smith, to see another Ian Robertson. Why is Callie Robertson having to leave when
He's
could
in
follow
Bristol.
his dad's footsteps? I mean, there's history there. Dundee's the same. I remember the players. I mean, we've got one that lives now down here in Gordon White, and Goj was a Dundee boy and then was moved here. What players would, as Ross said, with the kind of half a country, I think just about every team in that National League right now has a Scots player in it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They may not have to move. And if it's the right move for them, they're still going to move, right? They're going to go to whatever team in whatever league.
Of course, yeah.
Even going back to guys like Cowney, who's doing a great job in the Elite League now, but he had to move down south to get his shot. So you may not need to move down south if you're a Scottish kid or a kid for Whitley or a kid for, but I mean, the kid Finn Braden is obviously doing really well in Billingham. We've played against him obviously in the weekend. He's doing really well when he gets his chance with Leeds, but maybe something closer to home would be good for him. But long term, I guess we'll see. As you say, I'm with you. I don't think the Elite League are going to want to lose any team. I don't think some of the fans are going to like us for maybe saying they should step out of there. But full buildings and the past has shown that there is enough good players to make this a fully proper national league.
That's definitely something that the league should be talking about. Whether it's right now, whether there's a plan to do it a little bit in the future, there does need to be some progression and some pathways in like for clubs like yourself, really. I mean, Streatham as well, they could, other than location, I think I said it in the video last time me and Mark spoke about it, didn't we talk about it when we said, other than location, they've got everything. They've got the building, they've got the fans, they've got the nice change rooms like you boys, like good ice, a good team, a winning mentality. But then you've got like a real problem with housing players in London. It's just it's a logistical nightmare. So other than you two clubs, it doesn't really make any sense to even be considering anybody else.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Don't think they've earned it. I don't think anyone else has even earned to be in the conversation, really.
Agreed.
I won't make you boys say that on air, but it's pretty much it's what it is. Let's obviously we don't get to see like it's just the same as what you're saying there. Like we don't really get to see anything and what goes on in the north. Obviously, I'm part of some Facebook groups of NIHL North and stuff, so I see some highlights and I see some clips and bits and pieces. But who are the kind of guys that are not on your roster that maybe people that haven't heard of that are legit players that we might see in the national, we might see in the Elite League in the future? Anyone that stands out to you, Ross? Like some of the better players on other teams?
I'm trying to think there. I don't really know.
Just put your head down and crack on.
I'm not sure. Spud will probably be better to answer that than me.
It's got his scouting report.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's obviously, as I say, Finn Braden's already in. And I think they've got Tommy Spraggan on their books, Leeds as well. Good young defenseman in Billingham. And to be fair, Billingham, we've got quite a few young guys coming through. I think, our roster is pretty stacked in terms of ability. That there's quite a lot of guys here, young and old, that could do a job in there. Whitley are a funny one. They've had guys. Probably some of their better guys are still at the end of their career now. Still think a guy like Harry Harley could have done a job if he had decided to leave.
Played with him in Peterborough. He was a good young kid. Nice kid as well.
I think Harry probably could have, but again, I think he's settled there, and Lobby's been good to him, and he's enjoyed it there. So fair play. And throughout the league, everybody's got a guy or two that might be able to take the step. A lot of the biggest thing for them is I just don't think there's enough competitive games for them.
Yeah.
Against each other, there's still that physicality. To be fair, Dominic Osman is doing a really good job trying to rebuild and put his mentality into Blackburn.
Yeah.
Obviously surprised Whitley again in their place on Saturday night. So they're changing their mentality. And
he's coming on the pod next week, actually. Funny you say that. And
Dom's done a really good job. I spoke to him in the summer and he asked some questions about what we do because he was coming down to this level. And I like what he's done there. And he's trying to go young and hungry and probably getting away a little bit with that stuff we've seen last year where there was the dust up in Nottingham and guys suspended left, right and centre. They're trying to change the way they play. So you got to give them credit. D-side it's difficult because they never had a rink for so long. Our ex-teammate and Joey Coulter's doing a job in Widnes now as the coach, and I think he'll bring some guys through. So I think it's the depth in this league. Everybody's got a guy or two, but for us anyway, we know. I mean, we roll 4 lines most nights because we can, and if we can get a bit more depth than some of these other teams, then you will find there is some talent in the north that they just need to try and break out of the kind of shadows of this level and try and take the jump up if they can.
What do you make of the... Sorry, Mark, go on.
Talking of young talent, do you still have Kel
Yes.
Beattie there? Yeah. Well, he's 19 points in 21 games as a D man. That's pretty solid.
Kid can skate. He skates like the wind. He's obviously training every day in Belfast. Well, I know that Giants team right now is something pretty good. They're on a good run. Yeah. The players they've got, Kiefer obviously does a great job and his coaching ability out there. So Kel's in a good spot. He obviously played these games in the National with Hull, along with a lot of ice time with us. I think that's probably what helps him. He trains every day, but he gets his ice time in special teams and every kind of situation here. And he's a confident kid, so he fits in well here. And yeah, I think he's got a future. He's definitely got a future.
From the games I've seen him, he's been legit.
Yeah, good kid, really good kid.
What's the plan for the rest of the season? Obviously, you've got a little gap now, essentially, until you have to go down to Coventry. I think it's like a month away, the finals. What's the kind of plan to keep the boys in shape and get them ready to go and try and defend the title?
I think we've got 2 more weekends of regular season. I already spoke even last night when we played hungover and guilty, if you like. We'd still just said we've got standards. Let's just try and it's fun to win. Nobody wants to go into the postseason on the back of losing games because you've wrapped the league up. And I know that our veteran guys will make sure that doesn't happen. Going to playoff quarters, we're going to our North finals the week before. Obviously going in to try and win that trophy, and then hopefully it will be. I'd like to think it's going to be a battle of 2 teams that have won both their league and their playoffs, and kind of winner takes all in that national again. So we'll still train hard. The boys have set that standard, and they'll have their fun, but they'll have their work time. And I think again, Ross will tell you from a player point of view, but they're still hungry. They like everybody, right? They like winning games. They like that feeling of it. They like the vibe it brings to the group. So we'll just try and keep our standards as high as we can, because I think if you go into that, both the final 4 in the North and especially going into the National, if you're going in a bad run of form, then it's difficult just to turn it on for one day. So, and if you do that, you're definitely getting punished for a team like Streatham. So we need to keep focused as much as we can, just like I'm sure they boys are trying to do the same thing. It can be difficult sometimes when you've wrapped it up early, but winning's the fun part, as we all know. So I'm sure they boys will keep doing that.
Well, I think Streatham only lost like their 2nd or 3rd game of the season, and funnily that comes the week after you win the title and you've got it sewn up. Maybe the foot comes off the gas a little bit, but you boys have had a fantastic 3, 4, 5 seasons. If you don't get to go into the National League, and if that doesn't end up happening, how do you continue to build this in the league you're in and continue to grow as a club?
I think that's the most difficult part. It's probably one of the hardest questions you'll get, because if I'm honest, Ross will be able to tell you from a player point of view, but I think some people walk away. I think some of the older guys say, do you know what, I've done everything. There's no more. I'll use him as an example. He's at that stage where it's the 6th time. What else has he got to do?
Yeah.
Especially if you go and win the National, and that's almost a Grand Slam scenario that 2 teams are going for. If you win that as an older player, you start looking, going, do you know what? I've got a family now. Do I want to sit on a bus for 3, 4, 5 hours and beat a team by 10 goals? As a club, we've started. Ross is coaching his 16s and 19s, and as you said earlier, he's a win or a point away for winning that 16s league. 19s have done a good job. We've got a little prospects program where a group of 5 kids have trained with us for 14 and 15-year-old. They've trained with us all year, so that we're a year or 2 ahead of any potential exits. So that's all in place. But yeah, I do think that if you stay where you are and you're as strong as you are now, but without again being disrespectful, you're in danger of being boring and you lose fans and players.
Yeah, and it's probably the same for some of the other teams in that league. They'd probably fancy a chance of winning it. And while you boys are there, and with the roster you've got, and the kind of how professional the organisation is, then if you were to stay there, I can't see anyone dethroning you anytime soon.
Yeah,
not to blow smoke, but it's just spitting facts.
Yeah,
that's the problem. You end up stuck in the mud a wee bit, don't you? Because no being disrespectful, but as a player, it's when you're going into some teams and you're beating them by 10 or even 8 goals sometimes. Like for myself, I ask myself, what am I kind of doing here?
Mm-mm.
You know, especially kind of player I am. You know, I'm not the most offensively talented player going, but you don't want to get yourself up for a battle. Like it gets to the second period or whatever, and you're already 6-0 up. You look down the bench and you hope Spud's got to put on the young guys. But sometimes the young guys have got a game of their own with under 19s or whatever it is, so they're not even there. So you have to play, and it's just sometimes it drains the life out of you. I'm not saying that because I think I'm better than some of these teams, but like Solway is the best team, and I think some teams and fans, they actually give us a bit of stick for setting the standard. And you read some comments online, fans moaning about us, and you think, well, that's what our job is. Our job is to set the standards. It's not our fault that we're stuck where we are. We want to have the conversation about moving up, but if it's never going to happen, we're not going to change the way we play just because we're stuck. We're going to keep being professional. We're going to keep developing players. We're going to keep churning out these results and try to just prove to everybody that, you might not move us up, but we're just going to keep dominating, and we'll dominate until everybody gets sick of it, and you have no choice than to change the league or change where we are. So,
yeah.
The best part about that there is that he's just admitted, and you guys are my witnesses, that he is not offensively talented. And for years I have told him, you are not offensively talented. So he's admitted it now. That's him. He's screwed.
I love it. The I can't stop laughing now. The National League would be daft not to take a look at it. Anthony Russell, friend of the show, he said on the National League's good, but there's no reason that it couldn't be better. He did also say the time to add you to the league would have been at the start of this season, which is something that I hadn't previously thought about. Obviously, with Hull coming in and Bristol coming in, it would have actually I think it's logical. It would have totally made sense for you guys to go in. Was there ever any conversation before that season starting?
No, the only time I spoke to Steve Dell a good few years ago when I think it was first kind of starting. And to be fair to Steve, great conversation and always very supportive, but it was not the right time for us at that stage as well financially. But he was at least had us on the radar. But there's not been anything since that I'm aware of anyway. I don't know. If I'm honest, if it had came up in the summer there, would it have been the right time? I don't know. But I think like we say, we've continued to build and we've grew our fan base this year, and things have went in the right way. So who knows, right? We'll kind of see where that takes it, and we'll have that. We'll certainly would welcome that conversation, but
there's definitely potential to continue to grow the fan base as well if you're playing at a higher level. If fans know that they're coming to watch Kieran Brown, if they're coming to watch Matt Cowlett skating around, you'll get a lot more elite league fans, I would have thought, probably come through and check games out. I think as for Scottish hockey as a whole, it would be a good thing.
The level of competition too.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the level of competition, the level of player, the away fans as well. If they're going to get, whether it be a weekend in Dumfries or somewhere different to go on a Saturday and then watch on a Sunday. But our team, obviously, I would like to think we'd put something good together. But if you're watching guys like Kieran and Shuds and Mac, and that's just for one team alone,
absolutely.
And we may then be able to start getting some of these established Scottish players might decide to to head home as well and go, do you know what? We'll give you a wee bit extra experience at that level, as well as the young talent we've got. The Elite League fans, as you say, I mean, Glasgow's obviously not very far away. You've still got Fife and Dundee that would have links. The Belfast fans potentially, if we kept that link going. So there's definitely a way we could grow our fan base, plus add away fans, and I'd like to think we'd add something to that league.
Do you get much
strengthen the league, wouldn't it? It would strengthen the league for sure, and that's the thing. You go into that league, and you don't feel nervous about it. I think most of the fans would say, "Do you know what? What a great move! You've proven that year in, year out that you shouldn't be in the league you're in. You deserve to be in that national, and it also gives the chance for the Scottish pool of players to develop, because you're getting to play at a higher standard as opposed to being stuck in the NIHL One National North. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think, like you say, it's another thing you look at is there's quite a lot of midweek games been in that National League this year, and some of it's simply because there's 11 teams.
Yeah.
If everybody's playing every weekend, as a player, you sign up to play normally. We train a couple of times a week, but you sign up to play on the weekend, be with the boys. And some weeks you're playing one, some weeks, well, Leeds at that stage, I think they had, 7 and 10 days on the 5 on the road. And if you could get back to allowing the players to continue to develop and train and play, but fans will come to the games on the weekend. So if everybody's playing every weekend, it gives you a chance also to grow. And if your own team, well, it is, if it's Glasgow and at home, well, why don't you drive an hour down the road and get a games? The fans in the air are still kicking around for when it's Super League time, and the Eagles, and some have went to Glasgow, some just go everywhere to watch hockey. So if we can pick all of these people up as well and be a welcome addition to a league, then I think it'd be good for the sport in the north.
You said something interesting there that I don't want to kind of gloss over. I want to bring it back to it. You said you had like 4 or 5 kids that are out skating with yous. Obviously, in England, we have the thing that they call the Chelmsford rule, where like the 16-year-olds aren't allowed to play. A video that we're going to be putting out on our YouTube very soon is something that we're looking at as kind of something, an open letter to the EIHA almost. Should there be special dispensation for like at least 3 kids, whether it be 15-year-olds, to play in the National League if they're good enough?
Yes.
I love it.
100%.
Right? What happened to Conor McDavid? Played Norwich.
Special dispensation.
Get a dispensation, right? Coach, my thing as a coach, and Ross will be able to say for a player and starting his coaching journey, but as a coach, I don't know a coach or a good coach in the country that would put a 15-year-old at risk.
No.
And would put him up against an old school meathead or a 200-pound ex-NHLer and what have you. They're not going to put a young player at risk. They're going to have them training, and they're going to have them development, and they're going to give them ice time where they can to make the best out of that young player. And if he's good enough, he's old enough. If it's a dangerous situation, then they're not going to put, I know personally, I would not put a kid on the ice if I thought this is too physical, it's too big, there's too many strong guys. But on the flip side, there's also bits where you go, do you know what, at 15 years old, you could learn so much just by being around these players, training with them, being on the bench, watching the game. If you're playing for Solway Sharks and you're playing against Kieran Brown and Cole Shudra, Matt Haywood is a veteran guy in that league. Like, what can they learn for watching these other teams as well? I'm not going to put a guy, as I say, out there if he's going to get the shit kicked at him. But you are going to have a guy saying, did you see that? When we're clipping video, right, this guy done this. You're now going to put that into practice and be around, learn. I always say it's almost learning to be a pro. If you could put some young guys in a situation where they can learn to be pros as quick as they can, I think you get better hockey players and better people.
Yeah, so it's definitely yes from you boys as well. It's a video we're going to cover in like way more depth because it's something I really think they should be looking at. I don't know why other people aren't asking the question, but if they're not going to ask it, I'll ask it. I don't give a shit. I think we need that development. We need that pathway, and whether it doesn't sound that much, but it's 9 months as a 15-year-old extra that you could be on the ice with the boys, like you say, the veterans. Road trips down to cup finals like last night. If you had a 15-year-old kid, what an experience that would have been. He then goes back and tries to win the league with Ross's team at the weekend. Like, It's just, do you know what I mean? That it's just a good pathway. I did it with Basingstoke. BNL. Back, remember the crossover cup, Grubby?
Yep.
Played in that, I think I was 14.
Well, I mean, I made my debut for the Flyers at 15.
Yeah, there you go.
Four games, 2 against Murrayfield, 2 against Whitley. You can go back to boys like Big Neil Abel and people, Les Millie. I was on the bus with him at 15. And the stories, as you can imagine, the stories.
I was going to say, that could be a podcast just on its own.
And then you look at these guys. You go back to what our best player ever was. Tony was playing at 13.
Yeah.
And it's never done anybody harm. If it's managed properly, it would only do good. It's just about managing it properly and getting it right for the young player. But I'm in the yes camp 100% with it.
Well, when I played and you was allowed to play up into the BNO and that, none of us ever got killed that were playing up, like myself, Joe Green, and none of us got hurt. We were developed. Like, I don't know, I was the same height as I am now. I was probably 2 stone lighter, maybe, but I was still 80 odd kilos.
When you think of it, people will say, oh, it's just stories, but it's not even stories. It's life experience.
Of course.
It stands you, you might have been on a bus and had a couple of beers a wee bit earlier than you might have, but you learn so much, not only in a hockey sense, but you do genuinely learn from all these veteran players, older players, overseas players. I know Russ was, when I first came back, he was 15 and around our group, and Struan was 15 around our group. They were playing when they were 16. There was no real difference for when he was 15 to 16. Like, he'll be able to tell you that himself. It wouldn't have changed what he'd done on a bus or what he'd done on the ice. He was just learning a wee bit more as he went.
Yeah. It's a good take. Mark, have you got any other questions for the boys before we've been going an hour here before we let them go? Have you got anything else for the fellas?
No, I just want to see him in the National next season. They deserve it. Fuck the league.
Let's keep banging the drum, man. Keep banging the drum. Well, like I said, there's plenty of smart guys there. I think one of the major points is what you said there. The no more like having a Sunday off or having a Saturday off for these guys in the National. You play every week and then you're not playing on a Wednesday night as much. You're not playing on a Friday night as much. Don't get me wrong, that's the Steel Dogs. I think they do their games on a Friday sometimes. There's going to be occasions where you have to do it to make it work. There's no point in, i.e. the Steel Dogs try to compete with the Steelers or Sheffield United. It makes sense to put your games on those days. And I don't know, it's something I would love to see in the future. Hopefully it's this year. But boys, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Best of luck for the playoffs and for the national tournament down in Coventry. Well, I guess we'll be speaking to you after the cup, and we'll see how it goes, boys. But thanks very much, fellas.
Been a pleasure, boys. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.